The Lexus is back and I just did $6,000 worth of servicing to the car. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. If you guys are new here, do me a huge favor, go ahead and subscribe. It's been a few months since you guys have seen the Lexus. It's been a few months since I've seen the Lexus. Let's talk about where it went and all the things that have been done to it, because there's a lot. My dad's had the car for the last few months. He took it down south and he did a lot of repairs that this car desperately needed. If you guys remember and have been keeping up with the issues, I had some axle issues, some water pump issues, and a couple of things that I never even mentioned. This is my 2007 Lexus IS250. This car has about 85,000 miles on it, and throughout the last couple of years, I've put a decent amount of money into this car already, and we put a lot more money into it just now. Now, this car basically mechanically totaled itself, like I told you guys earlier this summer. So let's talk about the first thing that we did to this car. So when I was down south in Oklahoma in August, I fixed the front left side axle. I got a new CV axle put in there and it cost me about $200. That's before labor and that's before everything. I was quoted a new axle to be about $800. So not only did we do the driver's side one, but when my dad took the car back down, he did the passenger side. Right there, that in itself is $1,600 worth of servicing. One thing to mention with this car is the right CV axle. That thing took almost like 2 whole weeks to get out. All of the rust, the corrosion made the thing impossible to take out. On screen, I'll put a couple pictures. Remember calling my dad like every other day, like, hey, is the car fixed? Did you get the car? The axle was so seized in there that he had to get a welding torch in order to heat up all of the junk and get a tire hammer to take it out. So if you're doing this job by yourself in your driveway, you're gonna have a heck of a time, especially if you live somewhere where it snows with all that rust and corrosion just getting all up in there. But he eventually got it and got it out. After lowering the oil pan, he was gonna consider taking everything apart, chopping it, and then ripping it out. But luckily they decided to bring out the welding torch and got it to get loose. That would have been $1,600 worth of repairs if he didn't get any help and do it himself, saving the labor cost. While removing the axles, one thing that we noticed and we kind of knew that needed to be replaced was the brakes. The brakes were getting low and the rotors weren't in the best of conditions because of lack of maintenance by the previous owner. But we did all new rotors and pads all the way around just because we're there and we might as well do it. The other thing to mention is the calipers in the rear were completely seized. Once again, if the previous owner had kept up with maintenance a little bit better, that wouldn't have happened, so we had to replace the calipers in the rear. But the rotors were about 70 a piece for the front and back, so they came in front and back, so it was about 140, 150 bucks. One other thing that caused a huge vibration issue was a wheel bearing. One of the wheel bearings was bad and that bearing needed to be replaced and cost about $300. Those bearings also came with the front hubs. Both the front hubs were replaced in this process as well. Now coming over to the motor. Of course, there was one last thing that needed to be done, and that was the water pump. If you guys remember back to the summer, I talked about the water pump having a small leak, and I ended up buying a water pump, but I never got around to it. While doing the water pump, we also did the thermostat. Everything was fairly simple and easy, but that was also a $900 job, not including the thermostat. The thermostat would have been another probably couple $100. So all the way around, this car got pretty well taken care of and sorted. Now, in parts, this costed about $1,200. Looking through this work order, there's also a couple just miscellaneous pieces like brackets, etc., etc. But the total of this whole entire thing would have been $6,000 if we were to get it done from a private mechanic. From Lexus, this would have costed well over $8,000. It's crazy to think this was a good amount of work, but just doing it yourself and getting a little bit of help, saving the labor, can save you so much money and prevent a total loss from a vehicle. This vehicle would have been super close to becoming mechanically totaled, being well over 50% of the car's value in mechanical repair. Obviously, some of the things are maintenance items, and well, it's a fresh car now. Another thing I recommended while he was there and doing everything, I recommended to do the spark plugs and the intake gaskets plus the PVC valve. So all of those maintenance were done as well. Brand new spark plugs, brand new valve, and brand new gaskets. Overall, she's nice and fresh. This car has not a single issue mechanically right now, and that is awesome. I was getting a little worried that this car was going to start to add up and it's going to be super expensive, considering selling it, whatnot, getting a Prius, whatever the case was, and just getting rid of the Lexus. Now that number one, the car market is crashing, and number two, that we've done all these repairs, it's a solid car, and as long as I keep up with the maintenance, it's never going to have a bill that big. Or at the very least, it's not going to have a bill that big for a very, very long time. I also forgot to mention it has brand new oil and filter in it. Obviously, you had to open the car up and get all that stuff done anyways. They opened the oil pan and got all of the old oil out of the car and put fresh new oil in it. Now that the car is all fresh and has a bunch of work done to it, there isn't really a reason to sell it because, number one, it's all sorted and I don't really see it having other issues anytime soon. But also to mention, the car market is falling, and having a car like this that can not take too much of a dip is something that makes sense at this point in time. Overall, I know some of you guys really enjoy watching content on this car and the issues and repairs and all of just the ownership experience because you want to buy these cars yourself. Overall, I think the car is still phenomenal. Obviously, I've talked about the lack of maintenance by the previous owner and them just being a bum, to be honest with you, and not doing the proper work. Now that the proper work has been done to this car only has 85,000 miles, and I know she's going to be a trooper for the long run here, so I say I'm gonna keep it. Now I'm gonna make a little bit of an update video in the future in 6 more months, and if anything else happens, I'll let you guys know for sure. If you guys have enjoyed the video, let me know in the comment section down below what you think about the Lexus, all the repairs that I've done to it. Subscribe to the channel, and as always, I will see you guys in the next video.